All good. Well, I mean, it's kind of all good. It's mildly okay. How about that? Let's go with that. Things are mildly decent. Anyway, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, boys and girls. How are we all doing today? We're actually going to go that way. Well, we did talk about this, right? So you lot have decided to against better judgment to impose this new paradigm upon me. Well, it's not really a new paradigm. But yes, I chose to do whatever this is. What am I even talking about? I chose No, I'm not drunk. I chose to go for something a little bit less perhaps comfortable for you lot, which is we are going to slowly amble towards Hiroshima, right? Which is obviously the site of the world's first and one of two only nuclear attacks. Yeah, yeah. I think any we've spent a lot of time talking about how beautiful Japan is, but we've not really spent any amount of time um, talking about the topics that perhaps make us feel a little bit more guilty, or make you lot feel a little bit more guilty, because obviously I wasn't in a position to nuke anybody. um, we beauty, right? So it's beauty without discussions. Oh, discussions on discomfort, but of discomfort. But we should at least address it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk towards Hiroshima, and if we make it today, great. We'll talk about it. If we don't, well, that's what's waiting for you next time. Next time you lot suggest that we walk around Japan, right? First of all, though, just to start off with, can we just say that these houses are breathtaking, right? Like, they retain, they very much retain what makes them culturally Japanese, but they also integrate much of Western conveniences, which is fantastic in my view, right? Like, I think all cultures really should do this. Are we going? We're going south. Yes, we are. Yeah, well, it is how I imagined a lot of developing or a lot of countries should have developed. It's this idea of, oh, I want to go back to that house. Let me just double check something. This idea of integrating technology but not losing your cultural identity, right? That of course I'm not saying that Japanese people didn't, like culture is supposed to be ever evolving, so there is no such thing as a permanent cultural identity, but there's also such thing as a cultural spirit that should live on, right? And I think a lot of developing countries have not managed that quite as well as they probably should have. However, development without losing cultural spirit. Culture should evolve, but underlying a spirit, not identity, should remain. Otherwise, um, culture tends towards hedonism. that's not to say that like Japanese culture does not tend towards hedonism. Like almost all cultures do that, right? That's not to say all cultures tend towards hedonism when life is comfortable. But cultural spirit helps. How do we say it? Helps maintain, helps slow down the trend. Let's put it that way. That's what I think, right? Like if you have your culture that you can rely on, and there are certain cultural mores that exist, then did I use that word correct? I have doesn't not important. Uh, there are cultural identities and spirits that sort of value certain things. Then even as your society tends towards a greater comfort, greater oh, this is pretty, um not just greater comfort, but greater, let's call it laziness, because that's basically what it is. As you as your country tends towards greater laziness, you remain able to distinguish as a society, not necessarily as individuals, but as a society. You remain easier able to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. Can we go that? Oh shit! I wonder why these houses exist here. Are they lived in? They don't necessarily look like they're lived in. It's fascinating. Because if you live here and you don't have a car, right? Obviously, it's really difficult. But yeah, this is interesting, right? Exactly, because there doesn't seem to be industry right around here. So who lived here? That's not. That's just a shed. Well, it's not really a shed, but it's like uh why is there a random hotel here? That's fascinating. That's a temporary hotel? Really? What? I'm not going to comment further on this. Well, that's pretty. Decently pretty. But like, oh, what, you can stay there and rest for like an hour? And all with all the implications that says, right? And but yeah, see this? Fantastic, right? I'm not sure how to pronounce these characters, but I know what they are, and it's essentially just a Buddhist shrine. Right? It's fantastic. Love it. Well, because so here's the thing with Japanese kanji, right? Let's uh, Japanese kanji. Um, we'll just call it kanji. Um, the well, I don't want to say issue, but the historical use of kanji is very very interesting, because for a while Japanese didn't really have an alphabet to go along with its language, so they simply used Chinese characters to write everything, right? So that's why you have these very interesting concepts like manyogana, which is like essentially using Chinese characters to represent the sounds of Japanese language. The mild, I don't want to say issue, but the mild result of that is that kanji can have many different readings depending on its context, depending on where it is in the sentence. Of course, nowadays with hiragana and katakana, kanji sort of has retreated back to being used mostly in its original Chinese meanings, but it has retained enough of that diversity that Manyogana has. Is this another hotel? Oh, wow, that is fantastic. Oh my god. That looks 39. Yeah, that's remember for Japanese currency you essentially divide it by 100, right? So on top of the 39, you get 25% off because no one comes here. Fantastic. Oh my god. Well, not fantastic, but like it really shows that the countryside is hollowing out. Right? 27. All rooms. I don't want to call it seedy underbelly, but yes. Sorry. Let's just finish the thought on kanji because of its historical use in no, they Quitch, good morning. They said the sponsorship was in Japan, but I got to decide where in Japan we're going. I don't know if you were. Oh, something's not right with my Twitch account, is there? Huh. That's fascinating. Give me one quick second. Huh. I wonder why that is. Okay. I didn't even notice that. To be fair, I never really pay attention to these things, so. Okay, now let's do that. And then let's... What? Oh, fascinating. Use that. Give me 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. I need to go there. So why are you not doing this? I'm confused. Huh. Okay, well, so I guess we have no more stream to Twitch for today. That's fine. I'll fix it later. Anyway, not important. Well, mildly important, but not too important. Historical use in language. Kanji has many different readings, and to a foreigner, it is not immediately obvious which it should be. Right? I think that's rather fair. And we did want to say what was this? 12 minutes. 12 minutes. The resort hotels. I wonder why it says costume free. Oh, actually, I think we'll lend. Oh, okay. There you go. There you go. That's the issue. Let's turn away. The let's say seedy remote areas are popular getaway spots for those parts of society that have embraced hedonism. Which I mean, we're all familiar with some of this stuff. So there is certainly a portion of that is of that society that is like that, right? Root. It muses. It had seedy elements. No. I simply went to Hiroshima, and then I zoomed out and I've looked for the farthest path. I was okay. So true story. I was going to say, this looks it looks remote. It looks like it's a little bit run down. It would have been um an interesting what was I going to say? Interesting field trip for some of us to make in the future. And then I saw the sign that said, like VODs are free, blah blah blah, and suddenly it suddenly made sense why this is a hotel and this hotel's still alive, right? So no, no. No, we will not make a field trip. No, we will not. Well, you can kind of see why they did it, even if they might not be particularly interested in it, right? Because if you have these sort of remote locations, you really need some way of justifying its existence, and oftentimes, if tourists won't do it, ooh, that is interesting, isn't it? That's just literally in the middle of nowhere. It's just a single house. Like anyone who lives up there, or who goes to these hotels for their special service can simply. That's fascinating. Actually, you know what's rather interesting? I never under. No, I understand, but I cannot bring myself to agree with people who choose. Oh yeah, right. With people who choose to live on their own in the middle of nowhere. It's simply not something that I personally can understand, right? Like living in the middle of nowhere. It's not something that I personally can ever do, because here the key there is this idea of loneliness, right? Because loneliness is a key component with bad mental health. Of course, living in the middle of society and thinking that no one appreciates you in that society is also a key to bad mental health. But um, if you live in a society, you're more likely to find companionship than if you're not, right? So living in the wild is only recommended to people with strong mental fortitude, right? Like it's just people think that they want to get away from society, but getting away from society doesn't actually help in the majority of cases. It is actually mildly dangerous, or actually it's quite dangerous. Just like random cardinal. It's fantastic. Did that say? Oh, okay. Car. I'm not sure if it's either repair or refurbishment shop. Oh, it's a trucker route. Okay, no wonder they have that hotel. But I don't get it. Like there is a highway right there, so why? Oh, that's interesting. Well, I think it's interesting. Okay, the scenery is nice. Okay, and this is the only route to this town. Oh no, there's another one there. So, sports land. Imagery not available there. Okay, never mind. Okay, well, let's continue down the river. So this scenery is nice, but it's also a little bit less unique compared to other kinds of scenery in Japan, right? Like you could see this kind of, except for the Japanese style, the East Asian style houses, you see this scenery in a lot of areas with mountains. Like humans simply I don't know, have a pathological need of cutting through mountains because it's true though, right? Like it really does help. If you can cut through a mountain, you can reduce travel times, blah blah blah. And obviously, the best way to do it is to do it in between two hills. You create flat land, blah blah, along usually along a riverbed, because riverbeds are the best way of doing this. How many ways? 20 minutes. Humans have a pathological need to cut through the mountains. It's I think it speaks to agency, right? And the ability to conquer. No, this is just we saw this, right? Yeah, this is just a minor industrial area with tiny allotment farms. What? Oh, yeah, you really can see that, can't you? Like the sheer amount of degradation. Like you see this house, obviously, this guy is pretty rich, right? You see this garden is well trimmed and probably belongs to this farmer, right? Those houses are not. Some of those are right. That shed in the distance is. But then you turn to this other side, and some of these places. Well, I mean, those are workplaces, so obviously they don't have to be quite as pretty. But like some of these places, right? Like, I wonder if that's the town's public toilet. No, 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 no. I'm just no. That's yes, completely a joke. It's not meant to be insulting. Like this house obviously is different. As an aside, look at this, right? And this type of stone, along with that, is a very, very, very how do we say? It's a very Japanese way of building, right? Because Japanese castles essentially are built like this as well. So what timing? 22 minutes. Japanese style of building and buttressing the whole. It's it speaks to a, I think, at least personally to me, it speaks to a mildly defensive mindset, right? Like if you're building this home and you say, I really want this kind of stone at the bottom, the stone that is literally designed to look exactly like the castles that exist in quote unquote our society. Well, then I think that really does speak to. We can get in there. No, okay. To the defensive mentality behind it. I wonder who lives in here. Well, certainly enough people live in there. This, look at that garden. Oh my god. Someone spent some time on that. I wonder if it's partially the car that was hanging off a hill. Oh, you mean that car? Well, I mean the handbrake's on, and the car itself was pretty light. I don't expect it to fall off. Ooh, doesn't that look fantastic? It's just, oh, we should do that. We should do this in Minecraft. 324. We should do this in Minecraft. Well, not exactly this. I'm not going to come back here, and because then you lot will start spamming about things that are not meant for our year one students. Um, I don't care if they're aware. I'm sure they are, but they're not going to learn it from here, from me walking around Japan. That's the key. Okay, okay, good. Uh, all I was going to say. That's a lot of cars too. That's interesting, isn't it? Like, where do all of these cars come from? That's that because if you look at the buildings, right? The buildings don't suggest an urban actually, maybe over there, yes. But like these feel like individual, like person-owned homes, right? Like family homes. So it doesn't suggest that it requires quite that many cars, right? Like the population density is not that high. So the question is why? No, we're not gonna make it to Hiroshima today. But that's fine. Oh, maybe that's the communal parking spot, and the people who live over here also. Yes. Okay. But why are they all at home during the day? Now here we come to this other idea of, or why I think that this is a, you know, a less what do we say, less visited area, right? Oh, because if you look at these buildings, unless the owner has put in a lot of work in making it beautiful, a lot of them seem to look like they're slowly fading, right? And in fact, this could potentially be a rice paddy. It's just that no one's growing anything on it, right? Like you see those are definitely being grown on, but these not so much. Oh, okay. Sewage being built. No, we're almost done. We're almost done. When we fast forward to a city next time, maybe. But again, just before we stop though, well, I just want to point this out, right? Like what timing are we at? We're at 26 minutes. There is enough arable land here to support more population, but there is no population to tend to, right? Like all of this, it it certainly, to me, it looks like this field has lain like this for more than a year, right? Like someone's definitely tending towards that, but this particular field has been empty for a long time, which means, you know, the stories we hear about hollowing out of the Japanese countryside is fairly real, right? But it's probably not as, it depends. I think it very much. Ooh, that is. Oof. I was simply going to say, see, that's so many cars. That's so many cars. I don't understand that. And they're not necessarily bad cars, right? I mean, they're not great, but they're not necessarily terrible cars, which means the people that live here aren't like in destitute. They're not destitute, right? And so, anyway, I was just gonna say, oh, what was that farm? Like here, this looks like. Anyway, no, we'll just move on. It's beautiful. I wonder why there are so many trucks here, right? Like, what is here that would require so many? Oh, I suppose some smaller factories. But you can kind of see why this. Oh, give me 1 second. Okay. What was I going to say? Oh yes, I was going to say you can sort of see how before this highway was built, how this might have been the key trade route for this entire area, right? And so once they built the highway, unfortunately, then things started bypassing the area, and the area itself becomes a little bit less well off as a result. That's not to me. That's not to say that it's impossible for them to find another niche to be in, but in the short term, it looks like that's not the case. Right? Yeah, exactly. Like there are certainly things that you can do. Well, I mean, you have those truck stops for with the free video on demand for But that that in itself doesn't build a community, right? Oh, I see. So the national highway terminates here. Oh, so it does. Okay, okay. We're still quite far from Hiroshima. That's right. Okay, well, let's continue. Actually, are we done? Oh yeah, we're done. Okay. Well, let's look at this rice paddy. Isn't it beautiful? Look at that rice. As an aside, I've recently discovered the joys of brown basmati rice. Basmati, good stuff. I've never been a fan of rice, right? So Muses never really liked white rice, and always stay away from it. But brown basmati rice, i.e., with its three components intact. I can't remember exactly which three components, but essentially it includes the shell, the germ layer, blah blah blah, and the inside, which is full of obviously carbohydrates. But brown basmati rice tastes better and more individual. I really don't like the kind of rice that is like sticky to the point where it's basically rice pudding. Like, I mean, I like rice pudding, but like, I don't want I don't want a staple food, a staple grain to be rice pudding, right? I like rice pudding, but I don't want rice to be like that texture. There we go. Okay, we are done for today. Oh, thank you. That's sweet, but please don't make me any food. It's not that I don't appreciate it. It's more that I don't eat enough. So if you make me any food, I wow, wow. Okay, so this is just for advertisement. Anyway, I was quiche rice pudding is not that great. Don't worry about it. It's a dessert essentially where rice is cooked to the point where it barely exists, and they add vanilla and like sugar into it. Actually, you might like it. Anyway, what this sign says: happy marriage, a bright home life, right? Um, is really an encouragement to have more kids. Yes. I just don't know what it's doing on the side of a shed underneath a bridge. Anyway, oh, we're going the wrong way. Anyway. Yes, anyway. Okay, we're done for today. Thank you very much for watching. In conclusion, please download Firefox. Please don't do Chrome. Yes, I shall see all of you tomorrow. Yes, bye now. Tomorrow? No, we're doing the we're doing a book club style reading of the English Constitution tomorrow. Yes. Okay, bye now. Jane.